Okay then, ice telos, basically. Arch-Glacor, whatever you want to call it. Lump of ice. Again, same kind of disclaimer as I said yesterday when I was talking about my 500% kill. This is obviously very early on. The boss was released yesterday. We haven't figured out probably most of anything. But we have managed to figure out some ways to basically deal with the mechanics and progress and actually kill the boss. And I have done my variant of this that I figured I could share with people because there's been a lot of conversations in my clan chat about how to deal with different mechanics and different ways to deal with different mechanics depending on your skill and confidence level. So what I wanted to do was just go through the ways that I figured out that you could deal with stuff and which ones I feel are the most favorable. I'm also going to showcase my first 700% Enrage kill, where I just do everything in reference to whatever I explained in the previous chapters, and there's a fantastic blooper of arguably the fastest death that's ever happened at this boss at the end. So have fun with that. First thing I should probably go through is just what I bring and why. None of this is going to come as a surprise to anyone, I think. I have my standard Hydrix per criminal bolts. I have rubies, because this is a high HP target. I have my Seren Godbow EOF. I have my Darkbow EOF that I'm wearing. I am ditching my Eldritch one, because I'm still working out some kinks. And honestly, I thought just adding prayer switching to this for the purpose of making a guide that's aimed towards beginners didn't make a ton of sense, so I decided to do it without it. It's kind of fun to experiment with the ECB, and you can kind of effortlessly push it in during most of the auto attack windows, because you have like big chunky prayer switching windows, but whoever wants to do that is probably not going to be looking at a guide anyway, so I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that for this. I am using my Grim. I was using the Superior Cruelty Scrim earlier because I had one of those that I charged the fuck up for this release. There's no reason I have a specific die switch on my chest. I just broke my Baros one, which is the normal Serenic piece. My perks on armor are completely like basic biting 4, C4. Nothing special here. So weapon-wise, I have my normal dual set, I have my ricochet switch, I have my defender with planted feet, I also have a shield with turtling 4, which is sort of the in-case shit thing here. I have my ECB with me because it's just in the preset, but I'm not going to be using it. I have chins for the minions, and I have my classic dummy to start everything up, because it's not really PVM if I don't start with pre-nat incend on a dummy. I'm using Inspiration Aura. I'm adren whoring and just crit building, so I am incending a couple of times throughout the kill just because I think it's more fun. You don't really have to do this. I have Cinderbanes on, I have Fleeting Boots, bog standard range shit. I have a Bladed Dive switch, runes for Disruption Shield. Since this is a free Death Week running, I also have a Reaver ring. You could use a Ring of Death, obviously, if you wanted to. But yeah. Now let's get into the mechanics, one by one. First thing you want to learn is to recognize the different auto attacks. So here's 3 different ones for all different styles. They are randomized, and you will need to learn to recognize the animations to know what to pray, because they do start to deal significant damage to you even at like medium to low-ish Enrage. So the 3 different ones are obviously melee, magic, and range. The range one is signified by the green cloud that comes out of his hand. And zooming out here, you'll be able to see them clearly. This would be magic. We can do this with both hands. Magic. It's a green cloud, that would be range. This would be the melee one, where he slams down and just swipes across the area. That would be melee again from the other side. You can do both attacks with both arms, so learn to look for them on both sides. First actual mechanic we're going to talk about is the minions. What you want to do with this is you want to put your chins on and do basically the heaviest attack that you have available I wouldn't sacrifice the Seren Godbow on them, I just use something like a Debow or Snapshot or Rapid Fire, target the 4 minions in the pile and just one-shot them, essentially. Target the big minion if you're above 250% Enrage with this a 5th minion, and use single target weapons to kill that one off, and then go back to the Arch-Glacor. Now we're going to be looking at the arms. The Arch-Glacor becomes damage immune, he slams down both his arms on the bridge where you're standing, and you need to break one of the arms to be able to walk out of the freezing area that spawns in between them. So just quick DPS on one of the arms, doesn't matter which one. As soon as you're done with that, you could either stay in because the damage isn't that bad for low Enrage, or you could just surge out and avoid taking it completely. After a little while, he becomes receptive to damage again, and you're carrying on with normal DPS. This would be the beams. 3 different ways to do this, starting out with the safest one. I'm running over all the way to the side, then using bladed dive to go through the platform. I run back into the center, I put my shield with turtling 4 on, and just barricade. You have an easy 18-second barricade, that's more than enough to just tank through this without having to do anything. So this would be the easiest and safest way. It does require turtling 4, and it does require the barricade perk from Ranch Out of Time, so make sure you have those. Or it doesn't require them, but I'm using them here and it will give you a bigger time window. Second one up is my personal favorite. I'm doing a similar thing, it's just a tighter time window, and I'm using my Defender for the barricade instead, that way I can carry on doing dual wield abilities. My Defender also has Caraming 4, so I can use Greater Ricochet during to build Adren quicker and get back into whatever I was doing before faster. So I'm just waiting for the 3rd beam to spawn. If you barricade when the 3rd beam has spawned, you'll be fine to last the duration of the 4th beam. Waiting for the 3rd, as soon as they start moving towards me, I just K'd, and if you look at the timer, you'll see it's 5-6 seconds left now. 4th beam is about to spawn, that will last for about 2 seconds, and I will be fine. There we go. And the 3rd one, if you're feeling a little bit braver, you can just skip the shield and barricade altogether. You can use a shield and do something like a reflect. You can debilitate the boss and get the damage reduction on the beams. You can, I think you can null one of the hits with a res if for some reason you want to do that. I wouldn't recommend it because they hit every tick, so it's pretty difficult to just get one. But here I'm doing basically the same thing. I'm just bladed diving through the first one to get out of its way. Doing a couple abilities on the boss just for good measure, and then I'm surging over to the other side of the platform. And as soon as these group up, they're about to expire. Now when the ice begins climbing from the ledges, which it mostly does after this spec, not every time, but mostly, then you run towards the center, you watch out for the very center, and you just avoid the 4th one by running around it. That would be the walking way to do this without wasting any adren on Arcade. And now for the Frost Cannon. All you really do here is as soon as he does this, you Devotion and then Freedom or Anticipate, because it deals magic class damage, so Devo can block it, and then you use Freedom to avoid the stun that also carries with the Frost Cannon. You can also use Reflect. So if you want to reflect, then reflect res, so you heal from one of the hits and then reflect the other ones for damage reduction and some reflection back to the boss. And now in real time we're just going to go through my first 700% kill. I didn't pick 700% for any specific reason, it's just where I am in the progression right now. Live commentary on why I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing, you'll be recognizing all of it from the previous chapters of each individual special attack. But I figured I could include this as well just to see how everything fits together in real time, and there's probably going to be one or two things that I can point out during. So, me being me, I'm starting up with my dummy. You don't have to do this. Most of the time it doesn't even matter if it begins with arms or minion spec, then you're gonna be losing the meteor or incendiary buff before you even get any use on it on the boss. This is just, I just think this is fun. So start with the death swiftness, there you go. Those are minions. Rendering probably most of my incendiary buff useless. Seven seconds left. Start with some DPS, anticipating the next special attack, since I don't know what that's going to be. That will be two-sided ice. So as long as I'm standing in the middle, I'm fine. Or in the middle of where those two little ice flakes that slid across the ground ended up. So arms, I still have my DS here, so I should be able to just swiftly break this thing and run out. Throw an ECB spec in here for good measure, just because I can, and there's not much else to do there. You don't have to do this, it doesn't matter. One thing that I really enjoy doing here, as you probably just saw, is that I really like using Divert for some of the auto attacks to gain my Adren back up and be able to camp higher Adren. So if I don't need the heal, then really huge recommendation, Divert some of the autos. It's so much easier to manage the Adren when you can just pop randomly like 49-50% up from it. So Cannon, just Devo and Freedom. Happy days. That's one of the reasons why I try to want to keep high Adren, so I can always Devo. I usually don't use my Limitless Sigil unless I fuck something up. I try to save that for if the cannon would happen where I'm too low Adren and I can't build quick enough. Then I can just Limitless Devotion. It's a pretty easy combination, and you can always have 15% Adren, pretty much. If you fuck that up, then, you know, I have no idea. So beams, I'm going with the defender barricade method now, because it's the one that I feel the most comfortable with. I don't mind losing out some of the DPS, it's fine. So barricading when the third beam is out and going towards me. Spray switching the auto attacks. And another cannon, so another devotion, because it was off cooldown now, which is fine. Had it not been, I would have just reflected and rest that. Some minions to null that ill-timed tendril. Chins on, Debo, fuck you minions. And then single target weapons for the main one. Back on the boss. And now there will be a beam spec leading up, but because he's low HP, I finished the boss before the beam spawned. So there you go. That was my first 700% Enrage. It is a chill and quite reliable way to do this. You could cut tons of time if you want to sweat harder. I haven't really begun to take interest in that yet. Not sure if I will, given the randomness of the special attacks, but I actually kind of enjoyed this boss. It's smooth, you know? If you just focus and do everything right. Exactly like I did here.